Hello and welcome to the Adaptavist webinar on DevOps prediction. So we did a very, very foolish thing about this time last year, and we predicted what will be going on in the DevOps world, in the platform engineering world, cloud engineering worlds in 2025. And here we are a year later, and we're going to go and look back and see if we got anything right or anything wrong. So I'm here today. I'm Matt. I'm the VP of DevOps in the Adaptavist group, and I'm here also with Jobin. Jobin, do you want to say hello?
Hello. I'm just here to say we got everything wrong. I'm the field CTO services, Jobin here. Over to you, John.
Yeah, hi, I'm John. I'm CTO at Adaptavist Group, and I think it's what we have to prove is that predicting things is hard. And it's brave to go back over your predictions.
Yeah, that's always the thing, isn't it? It's like we were doing it last year and we're like, it's okay. Everyone will have forgotten about this in a year's time. We won't have to worry about that. I think we did get one right though, which was, and how far have we got into the webinar? Like just over a minute in, and we get the first mention of artificial intelligence. So our first prediction one was that AI would continue to level up. And well, I don't think we can really, well, or maybe someone will take a contrary view on this, that didn't actually happen. Did it happen in the way that we think it would? Or were we sufficiently vague to get away with this one? What do you think, guys?
Well, I don't think we predicted that most of us would be using a CLI tool to generate most of our code. I think Claude Code and friends were in anyone's mind when we look at this, but it definitely has changed. It's changed how code is written, managed, and how code bases are understood. But so it's leveled up, but maybe not in the ways that we actually predicted.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've gone from this time last year, it seemed that everyone was all about chatbots and talking to AI and having it say, hey, you're absolutely right. Then we've kind of leveled up and it's kind of come into the world of us kind of programmatic types where, we're using CLIs, and we're using CLIs not just to write code, but to talk to agents, and if agents talk to other agents, and make progress that way. Sorry, Jobin, I cut you off there, mate.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the rise of agents, the way I call it, I mean, that's something that probably we didn't predict. I mean, everybody knew it was going to contribute to with a lot of coding, automating testing, maybe even observability kind of things. But like assigning tasks to agents and agents doing it all by themselves, probably didn't predict that. Having said that, one of the things that we saw at services last year was everybody wanted to get some AI, but nobody was clear on the definition of what that AI is, and how can they actually leverage services to get help with AI. I think that was something that was surprising, and there was also difficulty from the customer side on putting real emphasis on the return of investment of, everybody wanted to invest in AI, but there was no clarity on how much return they will get from it. So I think that was a really surprising thing, which nobody really anticipated, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're coming out the other side of like those early pilot projects that people were kicking off with agents where, we start to link things together with MCP. Was MCP even a thing this time last year? I can't remember. I think it wasn't, was it? And so we often talk about the kind of adoption curve of where early adopters are. And everyone's an early adopter of this stuff. And I feel like a lot of people are like waiting to see what happens, wait to see someone who makes the first move doing things in their own areas. So not just in this AI bubble that's going on, but people in real industries objectively using AI and how that works out. And because of all the hype, everyone needs to be doing it. And so there's a perception that anyone who's not doing any of this is going to get left behind. So everyone has to do some of it. And fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is while the customers were a little apprehensive about, adopting AI or how to use AI, all the vendors that we have been working with, whether it is Atlassian, GitLab, GitHub, AWS, all of them, they have adopted AI with both hands. And every platform that you're using, every platform that you're putting in front of customers have seen really, really good features coming out in terms of AI. whether it is Atlassian Rovo, GitLab Duo, the Duo agent platform that's coming out soon, GitHub Copilot, Amazon Q, Bedrock. There's a lot of investments that has gone into every single platform that we work with. So I think most of our predictions about AI going mainstream, I think that worked. So we mostly got that right.
Yeah, I agree. I think we did. And I think this time last year we were predicting that everyone would start shoving AI into all their products. And I say that deliberately, slightly cynically, because I think now where we are is we're on like the second or third evolution of what's going on behind the scenes in things like Rovo. I think Rovo was Atlassian's second attempt at putting AI into the products, and probably the same sort of stories behind things like Copilot, GitLab Duo, etc. And so yeah, I remember going through conference season and going to vendors events and seeing new features that are coming out, and here's this thing, it's now got AI, and that thing's got AI, and that thing's got AI. We all roll our collective eyes somewhat at all of that. Now these things are in people's hands. People are using it. Those suppliers are iterating on it, and actually seeming to it's actually making a difference now. Whether it makes the difference that people thought it would, or that the suppliers thought it would when they started shoving AI into everything, I don't know. But actually, that's kind of a really nice kind of agile, lean story there, I think.
Yeah. On a complete side note, I did see some story about people putting AI into products like laptops and consumers not liking it. So some of the companies like Dell are actually going backward on that attempt. They don't want to put AI into everything anymore.
Yeah, I saw that too. Go on, John.
I was just saying, I think it becomes one of those things like when everything was mobile, and then it's suddenly, you're a mobile company or whatever, and then you have a mobile product, and it's just become a product or an app. And I think that it's kind of becoming the standard that it should, that you have to have AI assistance in everything, and it's no longer a feature on as standalone. I think that merging is started to happen and probably will continue to.
Yeah, I think this is a case of even vendors trying to figure out where to use AI, how to use it, how to make it more consumer friendly, how to make it more customer friendly, right? Everybody is figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big trend of this year. Is there's things which are going to have kind of exploded in popularity, like MCP just hugely exploded in popularity exceedingly quickly, and then as of like November or December, it's like, well, actually no, that was a mistake. Or maybe skills are better, and that's the new thing. So I think that we'll see these cycles of changes and the sort of the hype, and then it dying down. Maybe that's going to just keep continuing. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see where it all ends up.
So we talked a little bit about customers adopting, or our customers wanting to adopt AI, and it seems, Jobin, you made some notes here around whether people are managing to measure whether things are actually benefiting customers or customers of our customers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest problem, right? I mean, everybody has been allocating a budget for AI and the investments into AI. We want to do this, we want to do that. While it is increasing productivity in certain areas, coding definitely, and developing features faster, but is it actually translating into real business value for their customers? That's been the problem, and there's no easy way to calculate it. Yes, AI has been definitely enhancing productivity in certain areas, but are we able to deploy it faster into production environments? Are the customers seeing the fruits of it? Are they seeing real business value out of it? I think there's no easy way to demonstrate the ROI, and I think John probably will agree. Even at Adaptavist, we have probably struggled with that. Right.
It's patchy, I think, is the things that I think you have some people who are really kind of using it to make real difference, but it's not a uniform raise of things. And you also have a drag on of AI, like slop as well. I think that becomes a real actually people using it poorly and ends up being like actually holding you back. So there's this balance of of some things which are improving your productivity and other things which are just like actually a drag.
Yeah, I remember reading an article which said, AI is enhancing productivity for highly matured organizations and high-performing teams, whereas it's the exact opposite when the maturity level is so low and the team is not performing well. It's dragging them back, and it's not actually enhancing creativity. Which was supposed to be the case, right? So there is this two end of the spectrum.
So it sounds like the good are getting better and the weak are getting weaker, and AI is kind of just getting normalized. Okay, so are we done on AI, do you think? Well, obviously we're not done on AI because we're going to say
nobody saw the bull market for all the AI stocks coming. I mean, if you look at the stock market, it's only the AI stocks that are doing so well. NVIDIA, and I just had to say it, sorry.
Yeah, I find it scary, really scary. So did we get it right? AI is going to level up. I think we can give ourselves that one, can't we? AI has leveled up, especially in the DevOps context. The tools are better, we're using them better, we're understanding better how to actually make the most of these things without it just being gratuitous use. So yeah, good. Well done us. Woo! All right. That's one that's correct. Okay, so let's move on. So prediction 2 was expect a more rigorous approach to platform engineering. And so I don't know, Jobin, if you want to take on this one a little bit. I'm thinking about things like we had a lot of tools, a lot of ideas flying around 2023, 24 around how we should be implementing platform engineering, and maybe still a bit of a wild west. What do you reckon?
No, I will say, even on this one, I'm going to give ourselves a favor and say we mostly got it right, because we did mention a few things in there. Obviously, more rigorous approach to platform engineering, rise of IDPs, internal developer portals, and we actually had been seeing this. A lot of the customers that we're working with, they're seriously looking at platform engineering, right? If they don't already have the teams, they're building teams. We are seeing a lot of the enterprises, especially mature teams, starting to use IDPs. Backstage is the main one that is there, but of course, vendors using platform engineering as an opportunity to showcase their IDP capabilities. Even tools like Harness incorporating IDP as a module. Spotify coming and saying, productionizing Backstage and releasing their own version of it, which they call Spotify Portal. Our own venue.sh, grabbing attention from customers. So I think there's a lot going on in this space, and kind of predicted that, I guess.
Yeah, one of the things we specifically predicted was that cloud development environments would be on the rise, and I think they were on the rise, but for maybe not the reasons that we were suggesting. Because I think that a lot of AI, AI agent coding and those sort of things it's been a big driver of that, because you want somewhere safe to run your, maybe slightly out of control agent at some time. Things that's in us, and that kind of safety has been a big driver for it. So. I call that one a partial, because it was right, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, everyone's vibe coding. So we've got our head of UX is vibe coding stuff. He knows how to code from a very, very long time ago, and we're like, well, we kind of need to make sure it's secure and make sure it doesn't leak all of our personal data everywhere. It's perfect platform engineering fodder, and I think we're going to see a whole lot more of that, because the AI productivity tools that are out there for coding are getting into the hands of everyone, and that's absolutely something that we should be encouraging.
Yeah, and honestly, on the CDEs, I thought we got it wrong, kind of, because when you say CDE, I was honestly thinking about AWS workspaces and the likes of that everything happens on CD, and I don't see enterprises adopting CDEs to that level. Yes, when it comes to AI, there's a lot of development happening on the CDE side of things, but the workspaces are mostly still on people's laptops and elsewhere, right? They're still not using any cloud provider or any CDE per se for their entire development effort. So I think that's what I think we probably got it wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So what have we got to there? So we kind of got the IDPs half right, and we got CDEs wrong. So I think, do we get a quarter of a point for that one?
Half points.
Half points. 0.33 recurring, maybe. Prediction 3, developer experience will take center stage. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying really hard not to mention AI in this one, but I don't think I'm going to get away with it. For many of the same reasons we just talked about, and John, that you just talked about, where every man and woman and his dog are now coding, and our platform engineering teams are doing things to make that better for them.
Yeah, 100%. I think developer experience, I'll talk about 2 data points. The first one that comes to mind is Atlassian's acquisition of DX, right? And that's a huge indicator of how big developer experience is in the engineering space altogether, or even for the wider organizations. And I have also seen this conversation happening over and over in boardrooms, right? The C-level executives are talking more about developer experience than ever before. And they are asking, can you implement DX? Can you implement network perspectives? Can we have DevOps maturity assessments include the people experience part of it, right? So those conversations are happening much more frequent than ever before. So I think developer experience is mainstream, and we got that right. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, it seems to me that it's no longer like a little kind of like cozy type thing that comes from, I don't know, some isolated segment of the industry. It's in financial institutions, it's in insurance, it's in oil and gas, etc. Everyone's paying attention to this, and possibly some of it because of the rise of AI and the rise of these ideas that people are writing a lot more code, or having agents write them a lot more code, and that in itself has just brought coding more into the mainstream, with all that entails in making a good experience for people.
Yeah, I think there's like a DevOps in the systemics, and in organizations that we've been, sort of, that's what we're talking about, and I think that's what our predictions were about. But actually, a lot of like your developer experience in the small of like individual developers writing or pairing with an AI agent to do that. There's a lot of engineers that are having a great time doing that, and it's actually really good fun and an enjoyable experience having being able to test ideas that quickly, to be able to iterate that fast and things. So that's I think that there's an element of that which is in the whole developer experience and things. And so sorry Matt, I've got to bring AI into it, but it's
it always is. No surprise that we're going to bring AI into all of these. It's just so dominant. But yes, it's a beautiful thing when you're just getting on with stuff with an AI, and I don't mean to the exclusion of doing things with fellow human beings, but it brings home a lot of the things we've been talking about for years. Your fast feedback loops, you're being able to test things quickly, be able to validate and iterate really, really fast in a local context. And one thing I'm still quite curious about though is how if we've got, everyone has got their own personal AI, but his or her name is always Claude. Well, maybe it isn't. How does that work when Alice has gone off and developed a whole load of stuff with Alice's AI, and then she talks to Bob and Clive, whoever, and you end up with these very personal, kind of isolated silos a bit that need to come together at some point. I think it's going to be fun seeing how that one plays out.
Yeah, I think AI in teams and standardization of practice around teams is going to be something which is things. I've actually spoken to a couple of startups in stealth working on exactly that problem of like, well, how do we take the way that your best engineer uses these tools and get some of that into the rest of the team's hands, and we kind of enable everyone to be as effective. So I suspect there's a bunch of products that are going to start emerging, if they haven't already, just in the next year or so.
Yeah, I'm always going to bring it back to services side. I mean, this is also the year we saw us developing offerings that are specific to developer experience. And of course, we also acquired DevOps, a company who has a lot of pedigree in delivering services around developer experience. So I think that clearly shows where the market is going.
Yes, more and more DevOps. Bring it on. Okay, so bit of a segue now. We're going to go to the next one. So prediction 4 was regulatory requirements will drive DevSecOps adoption. I think we made this prediction in probably a slightly different political climate as well, which has had some factors around where this one's gone. I remember last year we were talking a lot about hacks, systems being breached across enterprises and government, state actors at work, all that sort of stuff. And again, the rise of AI, in the hacker's toolbox. So yeah, more emphasis on that. Yeah, I think we got that one right, didn't we? What do we think, boys?
I think so. I wonder whether we are underestimated as well. This was a frequent conversation at conferences when talking, like sitting down with the CTOs, CIOs, is like how a lot of this stuff it's almost the kick that was needed. The additional regulatory oversight on things that was like, well, okay, now it's easier to unlock the budget. What should we do with it? How can we make this? But like also, can we make this as friction free as possible? Like, I don't want to have to burden my teams with additional things. This whole has to be automated and smooth, and we've got to make this a process. So it was a kind of a conversation that was like throughout last year, and I think we undercooked it a little, maybe.
I think so. I mean, we did undercook it because we do see a lot of companies not just talking about it. They are implementing DevSecOps pipelines. They're finding vulnerabilities faster. As a byproduct, I mean, this was probably the year of CVEs. I mean, every other week, you see a new CVE coming out from one of the vendors, and you could see it's probably happening because it's easier to find vulnerabilities rather than, finding it 3 years from now, right? So I think companies are much more advanced in the DevSecOps journey, and we are finding out things faster than ever. And of course, being open about it, because hiding it from the customer, it's not going to do anybody a favor, because ultimately you're going to pay a price if you do that. So I think companies have been much more efficient in finding stuff about CVEs and things like that, but also talking to customers about it and fixing it. So I think the year of DevSecOps, definitely.
I think it's quite weirdly, I think it's quite beneficial that we're getting more and more of these. There are more CVEs coming out. We're seeing it more in the public consciousness. We're seeing the tail ends now of the effects of big hacks on big companies like JLR and Marks and Spencer's, etc. And I think that is galvanizing the normality of security problems. The UK government has just this week put out a new paper / department or something talking about how they're going to be leveling up their cybersecurity efforts. And part of that talks about automated tools. There's so many CVEs that I think one of the things that happened in 2025 is companies who were like coming into work in the morning and going, oh my God, there's a new CVE, we need to do something about this, and raising like a SWAT team to fix these things, and doing very out of the ordinary things to fix vulnerabilities, and now realizing that you can't live like that with CVEs coming out all the time, and you've got to automate this stuff. And I think there's been a bit of a sea change there. The other thing I mentioned is technology is moving on. Just one example, we're seeing lots of companies putting out things like hardened base images, or like ChainGuard and Docker for containers, to minimize attack surfaces on things, and being taken really, really seriously. There's a lot of money in that business, and given what's happened in the last year, we can see why.
Yeah, and we're also seeing a lot of tools in the space, right? I mean, tool sprawl, this is something that a lot of the customers are now struggling with, because security is taken so seriously, but also because there's so many different tools involved as part of the pipeline. We are seeing that suddenly there is spiraling costs. There's a lot of tools that customers have to deal with. And some of the vendors are looking at it and definitely speaking about, consolidating it into single platforms like GitLab is doing or Harness is doing, but a lot of tools in the space.
100%. So we missed the tool sprawl, spiraling security tool costs, but yes, again, I think we can give ourselves at least 0.8 of a point for that one, right?
I think so, yeah.
Sure. All right, so prediction number 5, the cloud will remain up in the air. I can't remember if that was a deliberate pun or not, the cloud up in the air. But what we predicted was that people will be doing a lot more FinOps, and we also predicted that people would do more repatriation. So moving off of the big cloud providers, the big 4, and into their own data centers or data center space leased from somebody else, etc. FinOps, I mean, we're so all in on cloud in most businesses. That there's significant amounts of money, really massively significant amounts of money being spent by Fortune 500, FTSE 100 companies on cloud. It was inevitable we're going to look at the costs at some point. So what do we think actually happened there?
FinOps, 100%. We did big exercises even at Adaptavist, saving $1 million, and there's a wonderful case study coming out of our own group, right, talking about FinOps. But a lot of the customers that we deal with say the same thing. I mean, this was a year where everybody stopped to think about what is our cloud cost, right? How much are we actually spending? And it is very difficult. I mean, the prediction itself is very difficult because a lot of it is actually based on usage. But now that we have the right tools to analyze the usage and even predict and even warn folks on and give recommendations on what needs to be done differently, I think it's been the year where people actually started taking that seriously and saving millions as part of it.
So everyone's got lots more money now to spend on
tools that will help you with FinOps.
I was going to say AI, but that is the thing that happened, isn't it? It's like I think we all underestimated how much we would end up spending on AI. Once you get past the reality that if you're trying to do things for free, then you're going to get hallucinations and misspellings of strawberry and goodness knows whatever terrible things. People are starting unleashing agents and spending. I mean, I don't think I could have conceived back a year ago how many actual tokens would be using on these sophisticated tools that bring in agents, MCP, doing various things to generate code. Frankly, I can see it on our FinOps dashboards, but quite what we're going to end up doing about it, I'm not quite sure yet. But we didn't predict that, right?
I'd say, yeah.
Well, I think one thing related to the predictions we had about repatriation of the things is like the announcements around like AWS sovereign cloud and that kind of like data sovereignty being a big theme. I mean, we referenced the political sort of situations around earlier on, and that I think there's a big driver there of wanting to own what you're running it on and making sure that it's yours and no one else can access it in certain for certain aspects, jurisdictions and things. It's sort of related to what we were saying, but I'm not pretty sure we didn't predict that was going to be an announcement from AWS, but that's pretty huge.
Yeah, even the same thing with Atlassian, right? I mean, nobody predicted the Atlassian isolated cloud, right? So it's not necessarily going back to data center, but having your own isolated cloud and the data sovereignty that you're talking about, even data residency became a conversation all along this year. So I don't know if it is cloud repatriation. It probably isn't, right? Nobody's going away from AWS for that matter, but still, there are things happening.
I mean, it was one of the reasons why we thought repatriation would happen. I think there's probably 3 core things, wasn't there? There was the sovereignty, the complexity, and cost. Yeah, and I think cost is kind of, given that people are finding ways of making their spends more efficient using FinOps anyway, the cost thing seems to have not died off, but that's being dominated now by the sovereignty issue, I think, and people are seeming to make decisions to move away from, well, frankly, US East 1 in AWS and onto something else, which probably still is on AWS. Is that still repatriation? I guess it kind of sort of is. Third of a point?
Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for me is cloud providers, the vendors became smart and they realized that there is things that they need to address, and they worked on it. And they provided new solutions out there in the market for the customers who are concerned about it, I guess. So well done AWS and the other vendors, I guess.
Yes, well done AWS. Okay, good. So let's move on to prediction number 6. This is our final one. So prediction number 6 is that even more people will be able to build software. And I think we've kind of covered this to some extent already, thanks to the AI stuff. What it says here, we predicted that Gen AI will enable more people to code. And we also rise of low-code, no-code platforms. Yes, Replit, etc., Lovable, Cursor, all of these things. And founders starting up new businesses and not having to hire a dev team, whether they should or not is another question, because of the tools. Even internally within Adaptavist, and I'm sure this mirrors what other organizations are doing, people who are not coders are now coding, thanks to permissive AI policies. We've kicked the ball around should we give access to AI to everyone, to some people, to devs, to product managers, etc. Should AI be like something you have to apologize for using, etc.? And I think a lot of us are coming out of the other side having decided that we should be going for it and letting everyone use it, and with the right guardrails that we talked about around platform engineering as well. Then it seems like a lovely panacea for spending lots of money, frankly.
Yeah, I think that like the no and low code bit is, I think, been proven kind of frankly wrong. I think it's been code, and that was the bit that I guess there's the minus on it is that the code has become the thing again, and now you've actually been able to enable people to write code. Like we've got designers who are taking it beyond Figma to actually just prototype something and really build something, and it allows you to go a lot further before having to involve engineering and things to be able to test stuff. And it changes the development cycles. It changes like what you can do in terms of products and things, and it changes what you can do with internal tooling as well. Like if you've got a solid kind of internal developer platform, and you have that nailed, you can then enable lots of very like quick and dirty sort of experiments built by people to be able to be moved into like production use for everyone. So I think spot on for even more people can build. Like it's democratized almost in the way that that low and no code never really kind of took off.
Yeah, with the right pipelines, you have ephemeral environments. You can spin up environments so quickly. People can show value by showcasing. Do a lot of experimentation, I guess. I think you're completely right. But even on the low code, no code, a lot of the vendors had been putting effort, like Atlassian adding Rovo Studio, for example, right? And Script Runner, our own product, having a low code option, no code option to develop scripts, right? So I think there's a lot of things happening there as well.
I guess I wouldn't call those no and low code. I think those are they're kind of code experiences that you interact with in different ways. It's like you're crafting it with a partner rather than you're doing drag and drop boxes and you're like doing you have to know all of the logic, because the Achilles heel of any kind of no code, low code sort of things is that you still have to be able to think like an engineer, like to have the logic blocks and have to do all of those sorts of things, which is always the big like sticking point of all of that is that you have to have that logical, and it's beyond logical. It's like a specific way of sort of thinking, particularly around error handling and those kinds of things, which you just don't really need to think about as much.
It's a different language.
Yeah, exactly. If you have an agent helping you, it's different.
Yeah. So what do we get wrong on that one? So we think we got low code, no code a bit wrong. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree with John. Yeah.
And I think in the notes we talked a bit about the extra cognitive load on devs or security people, even having to review things that are maybe not written with the mind constraints that or the experience that John, that you were just talking about, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things we got absolutely spot on. I'll read it out here. It says like the entry barrier to coding will be lowered. Spot on. I bringing the average consumer much closer to traditional development than ever before. Like I can't fault that.
Yeah, 0.999.
0.999. There we go. So that's it. That's 6 predictions. I haven't been keeping count, and I think my calculator will probably blow up as to how many points we've got out of 6 there. But it's probably a bit more embarrassing than we want to admit to. But that's fine. So that's it, really. That's our predictions. And how well we did on them in 2025. I think we're probably going to have to do this again, aren't we? And sit down and work out what project ourselves forward to January 2027 and look at what that's actually going to look like. What is the world going to look like? Will there still be a world to look like something? I don't know. I'm quite sure we'll still be talking about DevOps and platform engineering and haven't been overtaken by our AI overlords. But yeah, there's even like just starting into 2026, just looking at some of the emerging trends that we might end up talking about. I'm struggling to see things other than just the rise of more agents and legitimizing of how that is done, maturing of MCP or A2A, etc. And I'm also struggling to think of non-AI predictions to go into 2026. Whatever. I don't know if you chats have got any thoughts.
No, I don't want to spoil the fun. I think we are going to do a full video of predictions for 2026, and better people are going to probably talk about it in that call. So I don't want to spoil that fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I can assure you, it's not being written by AI. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I'll maybe kind of throw something that's slightly controversial, because I think that I think we'll actually have fewer agents, but they'll be more capable. There we go. I think we're going that. So that's putting a little bit out there, isn't it?
I like
the fall of agents.
Okay, so that's us done, I think. Anything else to wrap up on? I don't think so. I don't think we embarrassed ourselves too badly.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We did great.
Maybe we weren't trying hard enough.
Well, there is that. It's like, were these too safe this year? John, maybe you just set a precedent with one that's a little bit more.
Go brave.
Yeah. Go big or go home, right? Awesome. Okay, well, that wraps that up, I think. So thank you, Jabin. Thank you, John. Thank you, me. That was our roundup of our DevOps predictions from 2025. Hope you found that interesting, and see you again.
Thanks, folks.